do need to plug in today. Now I have a extension cord, so I can plug this in. Well, is there enough room for that to plug in? Okay, that's good. Thank you. Okay. Just give me 1 minute.
Take your time, take your time.
What's going on, Val? Got all three on there? Very best. No problem.
Are you doing the first one?
You like me better than Mike? That's why I go first.
Keep it short and sweet.
So 125.
Okay.
If it takes a while, like fruit.
Bryce, I have espresso. You want it so you can get.
Oh, I don't need it. Don't worry. I got my elevator pitches down. It's pretty good.
I get paid by the word. Cindy?
Sorry.
Good. Everybody ready? Bo, you ready? All right, welcome everybody to the Bristol Township Zoning Hearing Board. I'd like to get started. Please stand, remove your hats for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, let me introduce you a couple people. To my left, our solicitor, Ken Fetterman. Our stenographer, Cindy Oliveira. And sitting in for Bob McTeague tonight is Bo Fleming. He is the building planning supervisor. Am I correct, Bo? Yeah. Okay, there we go. Mr. Secretary, call the board, please.
Colleen Dunn.
Here.
Jim McMahon.
Here.
Mark DeMarcus. Here. Gerard Lycon. Here. Ed Murphy here.
Okay, let's get this party started. Stephen Lawless, 710 Cedar Avenue, Croydon, PA. Please come on up.
You. All right, we're good to go on the notices.
All right, good evening, Board. Bryce McGuigan from Begley Carlin here on behalf of the applicant, Stephen Lawless. Stephen's the owner of the property located at 710 Cedar Ave in Croydon. The property is approximately 0.14 acres and is zoned R3 residential. This is the type of application that I know the board is very, very well aware of, and it's your favorite type of application. A residential property owner who makes improvements to his property without first getting permits. Now, I know this is a relatively unheard of thing for this board, but no, what we're talking about here, it's, you know, so Steve's lived on this property with his family for, since 2016. And basically, Cedar Ave, I'm sure the board's familiar, it's a slightly busier roadway. There's not really a lot of parking there. So what Steve did, and the reason why we're here, is he expanded his driveway. If you look where my laser pointer is here, where the line I'm drawing now, this area was what was initially his driveway. And then this additional 300 square feet, he paved over to give himself some additional off-street parking. Essentially, the problem that Steve and his family have been having is whenever they have guests or his family needs extra parking spaces, they park on the side street, and some of the neighbors there have don't approve of that. So he paved over additional property in front of his home in order to accommodate extra parking. It's obviously similar to his neighbor who is almost 100% impervious, and the neighbor on the south side of the property who has a very, very large parking area as well. So at the end of the day, it's an additional 300 square feet of impervious surface. We do not have an actual survey of the property due to the fact that this is a very small scale application, costs involved, that sort of thing. Based upon my general evaluation, he was previously at approximately 74% impervious, existing non-conforming, and now he's up to approximately 90% impervious, or sorry, 80% impervious. It sounds like a lot, but again, it's a small lot, so that's why even though you're only adding an additional 300 square feet, That's the reason why the number is a little higher, because we're only dealing with a 0.14 acre lot anyhow. Steve's been in touch with Bo and with Bob in the zoning office. They've gone back and forth on this one, and initially, Steve was willing to remove an additional 300 square feet of impervious from a different part of the property, so that it was a net even, but unfortunately, he has to come here because a lot of what was on the property predated him, and the prior owner, shockingly, also did not get permits for the additional impervious that they installed on the property. So at the end of the day, we're requesting one variance only for impervious surface to allow the additional 300 square feet. That's approximately 80% impervious, and Steve is already aware that he has to go through Bo and Bob's office for stormwater management to the extent required by the township. Steve, can you come up here real quick?
Raise your right hand, please. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Thank you.
Steve, you're the owner of the property that we're here for today, correct?
Yes.
You heard everything I said to the board?
Yes.
Did you understand it all?
Yes.
Did you agree with it all?
Yes.
Is there anything you would like to change or add?
No.
Are you willing to adopt my statements to the board as your testimony here this evening?
Yes.
Now, obviously, you know that you did this work without a permit, correct?
Yes.
And now, going through this issue, you understand that obviously you needed one, and next time if you do anything in your house, you're gonna go about that, correct?
Correct.
All right. And if the board has any questions of you here tonight, you'll obviously be more than happy to try to address those and answer any concerns they have. Is that right?
Yes.
All right. So with that, that concludes the applicant's presentation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? Okay, Colleen?
Is there any problems with flooding currently now?
No.
None of your neighbors are here, so I'm asking on their behalf, like,
No.
nobody has any issues?
They've been notified multiple times, because this has been going on for a couple months. So they've received letters. No issues.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
I have something.
Yeah, Gerard?
I stopped out there a couple months ago, and I have a little Kia Soul, and I barely parked in his driveway because it's super tight. All the neighbors, everything around there is almost all impervious already. The neighbor to the right of him is completely blacktop, and he's adding a little area. I understand why. I mean, I had a hard time parking there with a Kia Soul, but I did park there. I was looking around. That was a couple months ago. I understand his concern about wanting to do this. Just letting you know, he does need parking over there. There's no parking in front of his house at all on the street. That's a main street there. That's all I got to say.
Anybody else? Bo, anything to add? No. Okay. Anybody from the audience like to come up for or against? All right. Pleasure of the board.
I'll give a motion for it.
I'll second it.
Call the board, please.
Gerard Lycon.
Yes.
Mark DeMarcus. No. Jim McMahon.
No.
Colleen Dunn.
Yes.
Ed Murphy, yes.
There you go. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Jim, I have one question for Bo.
Go ahead.
Yeah, that's fine.
So the neighbors that they're saying is 100%, have they been notified?
Okay.
I'll give you a call.
All right, thank
What's up,
you.
man? Congrats.
Okay. Let's move along here. Mehmet Durmas, 502 Concord Lane, Fairless Hills. Please come on up.
We're good on the notice.
Good evening again, board. Bryce McGuigan from Begley Carlin, here on behalf of the applicant Mehmet Durmas, the owner of the property located at 502 Concord Lane in Fairless Hills. We're talking about a 7,700 square foot property that sits within the R2 residential district. We're here for the type of application the board prefers, which is when someone goes about getting their permits and their zoning hearing board relief prior to making improvements to their property. The improvement we're talking about here is a 10-foot by 10-foot shed. That's it. However, Mehmet's the owner of the property that is already existing non-conforming with respect to impervious. Just like the last application, we do not have a formal survey. It appears that the property has approximately 38% coverage now, where only 35% is otherwise allowed. As a result, even though we're proposing to build a shed or install a shed, which is only 10 feet by 10 feet, and I would take the position that 100 square feet is the definition of a de minimis impervious surface variance. That's all we're asking for tonight. It will be outside of all applicable setbacks, and otherwise we are in compliance and in conformance with the zoning ordinance. If you look at the picture that's up on the screen right now, you will see that obviously Mehmet's property is the one that's highlighted in blue. His neighbor has 2 sheds, which you can see right here, and the location of Mehmet's shed, the proposed location, is the one that's in darker blue right here. And again, we're proposing, it's going to be outside of all setbacks, not near any neighbors. And I would submit to the board that this will have no detrimental impact to anyone or anything. And Mehmet and his family need the extra space for storage, you know, lawn and garden and household appliances and equipment and whatnot. With that, I have Mehmet with me tonight, and I think he just wants to say a few words.
Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth so help you God?
Yes.
Is it
HMET.
M-E-D-U-R-N-U-S?
Yes, correct.
Good evening, Mehmet. Did you have a chance to hear everything I just said to the board?
Yes.
Did you understand it all?
Yes, I understand.
Do you agree with it all?
Yes.
Is there anything that you would like to change or add?
No, nothing be changed, 10 by 10.
All right. Would you be willing to adopt my statements to the board as your testimony here this evening?
Yes.
Is that a yes? All right. And again, the only thing you want to do is put a 10-foot by 10-foot shed in your backyard. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. I don't have anything else. The applicant will rest on the exhibits and testimony presented tonight.
Any questions from the board?
Sure.
Okay, Colleen. You don't have to be sorry.
What type of surface will you be putting the shed upon?
What does it mean?
Concrete, gravel?
No concrete. My lawnmower machine and stuff.
No, so the question is, are you going to put down like a concrete pad underneath?
No concrete.
What, you're just going to put it right on the ground? You're going to have
Yeah.
dirt underneath?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Make the stone, little stone.
Like gravel?
Yeah. No concrete,
Any utilities going to the shed?
Going to have electric?
No, I don't need electric, no.
It's just going to be passive storage?
Yeah, just to put in the lawnmower machine. My garage is full. I have another car in the garage, My children go big. I need another room,
Thank you.
Good.
Okay, anybody else? Nobody? Bo? Anybody from the audience? I think, pleasure to board.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I need.
Gerard
board.
Lycon.
Yes.
Mark DeMarcus.
Yes.
Jim McMahon.
Sure, yes.
Ed Murphy, yes. Colleen Dunn.
Yes.
Good luck.
Thank you so much, everybody.
All right. Okay. Number 3. Good. Okay, number 3, 7025 Bristol Pike LLC, 129 Tatum Road, Bensalem, PA. Please come on up.
We're good on the notices.
Well, you're earning your money. You're earning your money today.
For better or worse, last one. You're stuck with Mike McGinnis after this. All right. Good evening, board. Bryce McGuigan again, here for the applicant 7025 Bristol Pike LLC. It's the owner of the property located, surprisingly, at 7025 Bristol Pike. The property itself is approximately 1.3 acres. It's located within the C Commercial District. As you can see, it's the property that's trimmed in blue on the screen. It's presently improved by a brand-new dental office that was recently constructed. I have here Vasyl Badalov, Veysal Badalov, who's the owner of 7025 Bristol Pike LLC, and his family, his brother and his sister, they actually operate the business that's located on the property. And essentially, what we're proposing here tonight is a small storage building that would go towards the very rear of the lot. And essentially what we have here is a property that's 11 times larger than the otherwise minimum lot area for a commercial property here in Bristol Township, and it's somewhat oblong. So you see we have this vacant area in the back that's largely unimproved with portions of remaining asphalt from, I believe, prior uses. And as you can see, the neighboring properties, they're using that for auto storage, looks like some sort of an auto repair structure, and additional auto storage. And instead of that, which it seems like obviously that's a common use in the area, what we are looking to do is to find a way to more effectively and efficiently use that vacant portion of the property, but in a way that actually blends with the use to the front of the building, which is a dental office. So we want something that's a little cleaner, something that's a little bit more orderly and organized. So essentially what Vaisal and his family are proposing is a small storage facility, going to be 6 units only. Bo, can you go to the next page for me? Thanks. And so if you look here, this is a architectural rendering of, that's the dentist office. And actually, if we slide to the right, you'll see the storage unit to the rear. Again, we're going to try to make it architecturally conform to the building in the front. Bo, can you go to the next one for me? Thanks. And as you can see, there's going to be a gate that's required by the ordinance, along with some additional landscaping. Bo, the next one if you can. And again, it's just meant to look nice, to fit aesthetically, but also from a use perspective. You know, Vaisal's family operates the storage, or operates the dental office to the front, so we want users of the rear who are going to be professional. We don't want this to look like some of the other stereotypical storage units that you see in the area. And I know that specifically, a few doors, more than a few doors down, but relatively close by at the corner of 13 and Airport Road, this board and the township has already approved a storage facility that's going to be a little bit different than the one that we're proposing. Obviously, that's going to be multiple stories, climate controlled. This is going to be a smaller facility that's, again, going to be somewhat accessory to what's there now. We're not going to have any signage, advertising, that sort of thing. It's going to be a very, very limited use. However, to do so, we do need 2 separate variances. The first is a use variance because storage is not otherwise allowed in the commercial district. We believe that's appropriate in this particular circumstance due to the small scale of the use and the fact that it will be lower impact compared to other uses that could occur on that sort of the property, and also be something that fits a little bit better with what we're trying to do on this property, again, from an aesthetic and functional perspective. The second variance is a height variance, because otherwise the storage facility is only allowed to be 12 feet tall. We are proposing 24.5 feet. But again, as you see, a lot of that deals with the fact that we're proposing a roof line that's, again, a little bit more, I would say, in keeping than with a generic flat roof. Bo, can you go to the next slide for me? All right, this is the, we had a survey of the property, and this is in complete compliance with the ordinance otherwise. No setback issues, no building coverage issues, no impervious surface issues. In fact, this proposed development will be reducing our impervious surface on the property because of a lot of the miscellaneous impervious on the rear of the lot that remain from past usage. We also are going to be installing some additional stormwater management on site, which again doesn't currently exist. So at the end of the day, what we are proposing is a small accessory storage facility to the rear, something that's going to look good, it's going to function with the property, and it's going to actually, from a local neighborhood perspective, be a little better than what's there now because, again, we're reducing impervious and increasing stormwater management on site. With that, I have Vaisal Badalov here. Vaisal is the owner of 7025 Bristol Pike LLC. Like I said, he's not just a passive owner. His family actually operates the business from there too. Brand new business, and Vaisal and his family hope to be here for quite a while. Why don't you come on up, Vaisal, so you can say some words here.
Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Can you spell your name, please?
Veysal
And your name?
Badalov.
L-O-V?
Lov.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening, Vaisal. You heard everything I said to the board, is that right?
Yes.
Do you understand it all?
Yes.
Did you agree with it all?
Yes.
Is there anything you would like to change or add?
No, that's it.
All right. Would you be willing to adopt my statements to the board as your testimony here this evening? And again, the only thing we're trying to do is to build a small storage structure to the rear of the property. Is that right?
Yes.
And you're going to run this in a way that's going to blend with the office use to the front. Is that right?
Absolutely.
Make sure you have professional tenants who aren't messy and who will, again, use this in a way that, you know, you as the owner of the property and your family as owners of the business will work with you. Is that right? And obviously, if the board has any questions, she'll be more than happy to address those. Is that right? All right. And as they can see from the plans that we have here, you have an engineer, you have a surveyor involved, you have an architect involved, and you know that even if you're approved tonight, you need to go forward with land development. Is that correct?
Yes.
And you know that there's going to be more attention at that stage to not only the architectural aspect of it, but stormwater management, traffic, parking, and you're going to have to go through that process. Is that right?
Yes.
And you're committed to going through that process, correct? And if there's any neighbors of yours who are here tonight or who have any concerns or are interested in your project, you know that they're going to be provided notice throughout that process. Is that right? And you're more than happy to talk with them and see whatever issues they might have. Okay? So with that, that concludes the applicant's presentation. And if the board has any questions, we'll be more than happy to address those.
Yeah, I have a question. So who, is this, you're gonna rent this out? It's not for the dentist office, or are you gonna be storing dental stuff in there?
We might keep one of them just for
Okay.
any use, but yes, absolutely. I will be renting, but again, this is our family dental office.
Right.
And I'm not gonna be renting to like, that makes a lot of traffic, like,
Right.
you know, this is something gonna be like long-term rental, or I don't know how to describe that, but yeah.
So there's no office in this building? let's say?
Correct.
Okay. Now, my last thing, when you brought up the rendering, the parking spaces in the back, are they for the dental office, or are they for the self-storage?
Can I show it?
You got to speak into the microphone.
Hang on, here, got something for you. I'm gonna use this button right there.
Okay. So, this parking right here
Yeah,
is for dental,
okay,
but other than all this, it's not.
okay. So the front side of that is for the dental, the back side is for
Correct.
Storage?
storage?
Yes. And a couple things. So we have obviously the gate, which is mandated by the ordinance. That's going to be closed obviously during hours where the business is closed.
Right.
Some of this parking will be used for dental. Obviously, that's going to be mostly employee parking, but it will also be available for any patients if necessary. But based upon the calculations that we have, we are more than compliant on parking. And we also know that
Okay.
during land development, if we have to make any redesign for the parking,
That's what I'm getting at, the
Yeah.
parking part of it. So, okay. So you're compliant, like you said, you're compliant with the parking, with both structures?
correct, correct.
Okay.
And also, I mean, to be honest, right now, it shows a circular circulation here, one way in, one way out. There's plenty of space on the lot, plenty of potential parking as well. So if the township engineer does recommend any modifications, we have no issue, we don't think we're gonna have an issue with complying with any recommendations.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else?
How big are the units?
Bo, can you go to the last slide for me?
How many square feet?
Yeah, so if we, all right, I thought it was on there.
It's on there, but
Yeah,
I can't
it's-
read it, it's too small.
Says the opening of the garage doors are 10 foot 4 inches. The unit itself looks like it's 25 feet wide, each individual unit.
25
Yeah.
feet, right, by,
Individual.
Yeah, so 20 feet, and Bo, could you go to the far left for me?
I can't see this.
All right, it's 25 by 30.
Okay, fine, 750 square feet.
Each unit's 25 by
750.
Yes,
right.
each unit's 25 by 30.
Okay.
30 times 20.
Anybody else have any questions?
Yeah, I got a question.
Go ahead, Gerard.
This dental office was recently built. Why wasn't all this put on an initial plan when you were building everything?
I don't know, I mean, after we finished the building, I felt like that space looks weird with the new building being on, I mean,
And also,
and I wanted to use that land.
And generally, when Vasil and his family purchased the property, the idea was to make it a dental office. And it's only after the fact that when they were looking at the property, they realized there was so much space to the rear. And to be honest, I think they kind of undershot the amount of additional space they had back there.
and also you said there's a mess back there, some extra stuff laying around.
Right.
Well, you just built a beautiful place and it's a mess in the back. and now you want to build this and tell us you're going to keep it all clean. You know, you already built this place and it's still a mess in the back. Just question it, you know, it just doesn't feel right.
Well, so a couple things, and I'll let Basil address this too, but essentially, the dental office, when was that finished?
Just recently, right?
About 2 months ago?
Yeah, so we're talking very, very new. So it's not as if we built this 5 years ago and just left the back a whole big mess. I think this idea itself, you know, in terms of the storage, you started thinking about this, not just in the past 2 months, you started thinking about this even as construction was wrapping, correct?
I had it in my brain.
So the whole goal after this was constructed, this idea was already in their head to move forward as we're moving forward today.
Now, is there going to be restrooms in it?
No.
Electric?
Yes.
Electric, yes, no restrooms. I don't believe plumbing is,
I don't think I need gas there.
yeah,
either.
unless it's required by the township. We're basically, the whole point of this and the reason why we're here is because this seems like a good passive use for the rear of the property. Something that's designed to be there, not really be seen, not be heard, or not impact the operations of the dental office. That's really it.
Just so we have a lot of storage coming in, you know?
And I'm understanding of that, and you know, what I would say is, this idea is a little different than a lot of what's else is coming into the township, because again, this is not something where you're gonna pass by and see a sign that says Vasal Storage. You know, we're talking about 5, maybe 6 units, and these are going to be, the tenants of these are going to be very, very carefully chosen, because again, if you get the wrong apple in there, it could potentially impact the operation of the dentist office. You don't want somebody coming in who is going to be a mess, who's going to be unprofessional. So they're going to go through this with fine-tooth comb to get the right person in there, because again, you know, it's a professional office to the front, so you need something that mixes well with that. And that's one of the reasons why we're looking at this and not, you know, outdoor vehicle storage or anything like that that you see on the neighboring properties.
Glorified 6-car garage is what they say.
Yeah, pretty much.
All right, anybody else have any questions? No? Oh,
I do have one question. Is this a set time frame for these individuals, or is it 24-hour key access? Can they go in there at any time frame of the day, in the middle of the night,
With,
to access their unit?
with the pass code, yes. It will be available 24 hours, yes.
so the
Like
gate, so the gate will have a passcode on it also?
We just installed the gate. I'm in the process to put a motor on it also, and it's gonna be keypad on the gate also.
All right,
Yeah, and it's gonna be only for the tenants, employees.
Yeah, employees of our facility, of the dentist office, and of,
Of course, fire department.
so if we add that as a condition, that he has to have a keypad on there, that's not a problem.
not a problem.
Go ahead, Colleen.
Would it be problematic if we gave a timeline, like you couldn't be open past 10 a.m., 10 to 6, just for the neighborhood? I don't really know what lies behind there, or just the safety of those going into those units by themselves.
Well, actually, Bo, can you go back to the first page for me? Yeah, I think this is a little narrow, so it's not gonna show everything. But yeah, right behind, there's no houses there. You know, and it's a lot of commercial uses to the sides. Now, what I would say is if the township looks at this and they want there to be time restraints, we're okay with following through with that. That's not a problem.
Okay. Bo, do you have something to add?
I was just gonna tell Melanie it's the canal path.
Okay. Anybody else from the board? Okay, I'm gonna ask anybody from the audience that would like to come up for or against this. You look very familiar, man. All right, please come on up.
Joan Termina. Termyna.
Solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God.
Yes, I do. So I have a couple questions about the plans. I noticed first, because I live in that area and I go to the pizzeria that's very near there, and I saw all gravel in the back, and I said to them, oh, do you know what they're doing? They said, oh, they're fixing up the back. I said, okay. Next time I come, there's a big fence, 6 foot around the whole property, and it backs to the canal. So I've taken a couple walks along the canal, and I looked, and the building's up front, which is nice, because it's not as intrusive to the canal, but you can definitely see it. So their fence is 6 foot, so you're going 4 feet higher than the fence, and you're walking along the canal. What I want to know is, the rendering you see of the canal and the fence, do you see how close that is to the canal? Is there building restrictions of how close they can be to the canal for fencing and property?
Yeah, Beth.
Yes, there would be. And the fence, I believe, was already approved. I can give you that exact date. The fence was approved already.
Wouldn't they, is it approved in the, without a variance?
No, they would not need a variance for the fence.
So it's not close enough to the canal to need a variance?
You would need to put the fence on your property.
Okay.
It would not be on the canal's property or the township property.
Okay, and how far is the storage unit going to be off the canal?
That, I would have to give you that answer then.
But it's gonna be inside the fence.
Yes, it would be inside the fence. Yes. It's
Right.
outside the fence.
So when you walk down the canal, and especially where that property is located, there's a lot of arborvitae along there, but there's none along the back of that property. They're all low bush. You can see the fence through the canal when you're walking along it. And I'm just thinking, you know, we're already having another issue before the board of building along the canal. And, you know, 24 feet is very, very high. And you're going to be able to see it from the canal. And, you know, another storage unit down by the turnpike, storage unit there, and 6 more storage units. How many storage units do we need in Bucks County? So that's my piece for tonight. I object to another storage unit being along the canal.
Okay, thank you. Would you like to address that, counsel?
Sure. So, like I mentioned before, you know, I wouldn't compare this to a lot of the other storage that's going in, the other commercial storage in the area. We're not talking about a couple hundred unit multi-story facility. This is just minor accessory to what's there now. In terms of the canal, you know, like I talked to Vaisal about and like he's committed to, we're going through land development. And as part of that, we will have to provide a landscape plan for approval by Gilmore. So in terms of whether additional shrubbery or additional arborvitaes or something like that to provide screening, we'll be more than happy to do that. And we know that we're going to have to provide some sort of a landscape plan. And I don't think that would be an issue for Vaisal and his family to provide some additional form of screening, whether it's from the neighboring properties, from the canal path. You know, that's something that, again, we're going to do when we go through that process.
Okay. Anybody else from the audience? Okay. I need a motion.
I'll make a motion for this project.
I'll second.
Gerard Lycon.
No.
Mark DeMarcus.
No.
Jim McMahon.
Yes.
Colleen Dunn.
Yes.
Ed Murphy, yes.
Thank you very
Well,
much.
there you go. All right. Joseph Wagner, 39 Timber Lane, Levittown, PA. Michael?
Thanks
How are
so
you?
much. How are you, Mike? I'm well, how are you? Fine. We're good on the mailings.
Oh, do you have the impervious for number 4 or no?
You said there was.
Okay. I'm sure Mr. McGinnis will tell us what the impervious is over.
Barely anything. 42.83.
Okay. Okay.
All right, good evening. Mike McGinnis from Begley Carlin here tonight on behalf of Joseph Wagner. My client is the owner of 2206 Wood Avenue in the township. The tax parcel number is 5-77-69. The property is zoned R2, and it is situated, I'm going to see if Bryce tricked me if I can actually use this. There you go. So it fronts on Wood Avenue, but if you scroll all the way over to the right or down to existing features, either way, you can see, if you go, all right, go up to the top right corner. There you go. So I'm gonna see. Think you're. All right, thanks. So John Richardson, who's with us tonight, has prepared the site plan. Here's the site. It fronts on Wood Avenue. It's between Wood and Palmer, and then there's Beach Street. So just to orient the board, we're talking about this property here, which you may recognize is a bit larger than some of the surrounding neighboring parcels. The majority of the properties in this little strip here range primarily, but not exclusively, between 0.15 and 0.2 acres, though there are a couple that are around 0.12 acres. This property is a bit over a quarter acre. It's a little less than 12,000 square feet. My client acquired the property in the summer, and the property, my understanding, was historically a bit of a mess, significant overgrowth, brush, what I would describe as scrub trees. There was a shed. I think looking at some of the aerials historically, the property's primarily been improved by a shed over the years, which has since been removed. And in fact, right after actually my client purchased the property, there was a bit of an incident, apparently where lightning struck one of the trees. It actually fell over right by one of the neighboring property owners. He had it cut up and remedied quickly, but it really created some impetus to clean the site up. And my understanding is, since he acquired the property a couple months ago, he's taken some action expeditiously to make sure the site was in better condition than it's been historically. This is not what I would consider an overly complicated application. We are looking to build one single-family detached dwelling on a single lot. We're not looking to construct the home on top of any of the neighbors. We are honoring all of the setbacks in terms of the rear, side, and front. My client is planning on living here himself, so this is not a property that he's developing and selling or renting out. He is looking to move in here with his family. In terms of the order of operations, when he was designing what he's described as his dream home with his architect, he realized he was a bit over on impervious and building coverage, but wanted to build a home which was adequately sized for his family. He and his significant other, Diane, are here. They each have a couple kids. Joe's parents, fortunately, are both alive. They're in their 80s. They live in Florida, and fortunately, they're doing well. There are not plans right this second to have them move up here, but he's looking to build a home that's adequately sized. So in the event that it becomes necessary for medical or other reasons, he'd have a house that would be large enough if he needed to have his parents live at the site. We think this property, if it's developed, will have a positive impact on the surrounding community, really improving an unimproved lot. Historically, should have a positive impact on home values. We're over by a little less than 10% on both building coverage and impervious, and we do think this is in keeping with the neighborhood. A number of properties in the immediate vicinity are a bit over, my understanding is, on their building coverage and impervious surface ratios, and our stormwater management will mitigate any additional runoff caused by the construction, and I do have John Richardson who will affirm that. So just for specificity, we do need the following relief: building coverage of 34.7% and impervious surface of 42.83%. And just, Mr. McMahon, for clarity, that's a 7.83% impervious surface variance. 7.83. So what I would like to do is just have Mr. Wagner swear and affirm that my summary is true and accurate to the best of his information and belief, and then have Mr. Richardson just do a brief overview of the site and what we're proposing, and then open up for any questions the board has.
Thank you.
Raise your right hand, please. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth so help you God?
I do. All right. Good evening, Mr. Wagner. Can you please state your name for the record?
Joseph Wagner.
We have another microphone. What did,
Oh. We're hiding it.
hold on.
No feedback. All right, Mr. Wagner, you are the owner of the subject property that's before the board this evening, is that correct?
That is correct.
And you purchased the property a few months ago, is that right?
Back in June.
Okay. And you heard the testimony that I summarized to the board regarding everything that's transpired and your intentions for the site, is that correct?
That is correct.
All right. And if you were in fact called to testify, is the summary that I've provided true and accurate to the best of your knowledge, information, and belief?
Yes, it is.
Okay. I have nothing further for Mr. Wagner at this time.
Any questions from the board for Mr. Wagner? Okay.
All right. And then very briefly, thanks.
Raise your right hand, please. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth so help you God?
I do.
All right. John, can you please state your name for the board, please?
My name is John Richardson.
Okay. And you're an engineer with Dumac Engineering?
I'm a professional engineer with Dumac Engineering. I've been licensed in the state of Pennsylvania since 2006.
Okay. And you prepared the plan your office did that's before the board?
Correct. We surveyed the site and prepared the plan.
Okay. Can you just do a very brief summary of what we're proposing this evening?
Sure. As you so expertly stated, the lot is approximately a quarter acre in size. And,
I didn't even pay him to say that. Make sure that's bolded and underlined for the transcript, please.
We're proposing a house with a footprint of 3,374 square feet. It will have a front covered porch and a rear covered deck. The house will have access to the street via a very typical driveway for a single-family residence. There's a rather large, nice tree in the front yard. It's approximately 2 feet in diameter. We're planning on saving that. It's a nice specimen tree. The site drains to the rear, away from wood. We'll be providing stormwater management on the site in accordance with all the township requirements. We'll be doing our soil test and designing a system to mitigate any stormwater effects. While the house is obviously, in terms of footprint, not compliant, I would like to point out that the actual square footage of living space is almost exactly in relationship to the other properties in the neighborhood, right on key. The difference is that numerous other houses in the neighborhood are 2 stories. This house is only 1 story. So while the footprint does seem to be large in terms of the building coverage, it is only 1 story. So in terms of total living space, it's perfectly in keeping with the character of the neighborhood.
Okay. And we are compliant with our side, rear, and front yard setbacks, is that correct?
Correct. Dimensionally, it's in compliancy.
And the stormwater management that is going to be designed will capture any of the added runoff resulting from the construction?
Correct.
Okay. I have no questions for Mr. Richardson at this time.
Anybody from the board?
I do.
Jacob.
Thank you.
Bo, does Palmer Avenue still flood down there?
It is not, to my knowledge.
Anybody else have any questions from the board? Good, Gerard?
No, I'm good.
Bo, anything to add?
No.
Anybody from the audience like to come up? You can come up for or against it. All right, come on up.
I'm Joshua Dill. I live at 2207 Palmer
Go
Avenue.
a little bit slower, a little slower.
Joshua, Joshua.
Last name?
Dill, Dill.
Deep breaths. You're
Raise your right hand, please. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth so help you God?
I do.
You can state your address now.
2207 Palmer Avenue. My question is just clarification on the drainage, because our property is behind that property. So if the stormwater runs off of Wood onto the back, that would be the back line of our property. Obviously wasn't an issue prior to this because it was an unimproved lot. We haven't had any issues with flooding or anything like that. I was just curious about clarification for what that stormwater management looks like.
You're 100% correct. The drainage does flow in this direction generally towards the rear corner of the lot. Our intention would be that we would provide a stone underground dry well in the front yard and probably also one in the rear yard. A stone dry well is essentially a pit that's dug into the ground. It's filled with stone. While that stone appears to be a solid mass, it's actually approximately 40% voids. So you can use the voids in the stone to store stormwater. The township has requirements for the amount of stormwater that is generated on site. Essentially, though, you have to mitigate any increase in the stormwater that's generated on site. So those dry wells would be sized such that the increase in runoff would be collected by those dry wells and infiltrated into the ground.
Can I add to that briefly? So just for explanatory purposes, I don't mean to be disrespectful addressing this gentleman. This site doesn't go through the land development process because it's one lot, but we still have to provide plans with calculations to the satisfaction of the township, including the township engineer. And what John means by mitigating the stormwater runoff, that means we actually have to functionally capture everything that's added because of the impervious or reduce it as a result of our development, which means, and we're not just saying this, the township will review it, we have to provide them numbers and the township has to agree before they issue a building permit that our stormwater management, because right now it's just flowing, free flow, will be captured and you should actually have a smaller runoff as a result of this development. So people sometimes, roll their eyes when we say that because obviously we're self-interested, but that is the law and it is reviewed by the township and we will go through that process before any building permit is issued. Sorry.
No?
Okay.
Anybody else? Okay. Going once, going twice. All right, what's the pleasure of the board, please? I need a motion.
I'll make a motion for this project.
I need a second.
I'll second.
Call the board.
Gerard Lycon,
Yes.
Mark DeMarcus,
Yes.
Jim McMahon,
Yes.
Colleen Dunn,
Yes.
Ed Murphy, yes. Good luck, guys.
All right. Thank you very much.
Robert Marquis, 261 Lower Mooresville Road. Please come on up.
Just want to lodge a formal complaint for the record that you guys let the Braves fan go first with his 3 applications.
Yeah.
He's a priest.
Well, the Braves aren't in it, so.
We're good on the mailings.
Share that so you didn't just deny his projects, the retribution, but.
I just do that for fun now.
Okay.
Whenever you're ready.
Right. Good evening, Mike McGinnis here on behalf of Bob Marquis, the owner of Grebe Avenue. I am going to seek to keep this incredibly brief. We were in front of the board a handful of months ago to receive variances that would permit a subdivision right here with the property, since it's currently improved with a residence on this portion of the property. This portion of the property is not improved presently. We were fortunate enough to receive variances from the board. We went through the subdivision process. We received a letter back from Gilmore. The letter that we received from Gilmore indicated that this structure, which was partially cut off in the initial subdivision or the initial zoning plan, is within the side yard setback. So there is a 5-foot side yard setback requirement for detached garages. There is a smaller requirement for sheds. We wouldn't be here if it was a shed, but Bob is an honest guy and said it's a garage. It's marked as a garage. It's going to stay as a garage. So we need a variance of 1.7 feet essentially to allow the garage to remain. And unfortunately, we couldn't just do what you're all probably thinking, which is move the lot line, because some of the variances we received before related to lot size and lot width. So if we moved the lot line, we were then not going to comply with the prior relief that was granted. So unless the garage was removed or construed as a shed, we needed to come and get relief for the garage to remain where it is. Obviously, Bob still owns both lots and is not objecting to the garage remaining where it's situated. That's essentially it. I can have Bob, you should probably swear and affirm that that's true, and then any questions, happy to answer them.
Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
All right, Bob, please state your name, please, for the board.
Robert Marquis?
Okay, and you heard the testimony that I summarized at the outset here?
Yes.
All right, and would you so adopt that summary, it's true and correct to the best of your knowledge, information, and belief?
Yes, it is.
Okay, I have nothing further.
Did you say what the size of the garage is again?
325 square feet, I believe.
Okay. Anybody from the board, got any questions? Comments, concerns? All right. Bo, anything to add? Anybody from the audience? Okay, let's do it. Give me a motion.
I'll make a motion for this project.
Give me a second.
I'll second.
Call the board.
Gerard Lycon,
Yes.
Mark DeMarcus,
Yes.
Jim McMahon,
Yes.
Colleen Dunn,
Yes.
Ed Murphy, yes. Good luck.
Thank you.
Are you here for number 6 too? Okay. All right. Okay,
So's Bob, so he didn't come out just for that.
oh, this is for Bob also?
Yeah, this is, Bob is, and I don't know, in case you need a authorization, I have one for Bob to provide testimony. Bob's the GC for the landowner.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, you may,
The zoning, the site zoning plan, Bo, yeah, thanks.
okay.
All right, perfect. Good evening. Again, Mike McGinnis here on behalf of the applicant, which is Zampel 125 Phyllis Drive LP. My client is the owner of the subject property, which is located on Anthony Circle. It has a tax parcel number of 552-96-8. I do want to state at the outset, as a housekeeping matter, we are withdrawing the Woodlands variance. So when we filed, this was being processed at the township as an earth disturbance, on an earth disturbance permit, which we'll get into in a second. When Gilmore issued their review, they flagged the woodlands as a potential issue because the site's wooded. We did not know whether we were compliant or not with that calculation when we had to file the deadline to meet this meeting. So we asked for potential relief. We have since been able to confirm that our level of disturbance is compliant. We're actually only removing 12% of the woodlands on site, so we do not need a variance for the woodlands disturbance. This lot is just under 2 acres. It's 1.95 acres and it's zoned M2. My client also operates the adjacent parcel. So if, I don't know if it's depicted there, yeah. So if you're on Anthony, these are contiguous parcels, and my client, it's technically owned by the Bucks County Economic Development Corp. Through financial arrangements, but they've been located at the adjacent parcel for, I think, since July of 2012. For anybody who is not familiar with Zampel Refractories, which is what this is, Zampel primarily deals with the installation of scaffolding, refractories, and mechanical insulation for both industrial and commercial sectors. This is one of a number of sites that Zampel owns, ranging from Maine to Oregon, or Massachusetts to Oregon. This came up because at the adjacent site, which is 1.5 acres, they've been using that almost primarily for storage, and the space has become inadequate over the years. So there's been some scaffolding and other material that's been stored out front at that property, which is negatively impacting parking. So my client ended up purchasing the adjacent parcel, which is vacant except for the woodlands on site, and then wanted to use that property in an accessory manner to the existing operation next door. And the level of disturbance that we're discussing is incredibly minimal. So the site is 2 acres. We're looking to improve that by a paved area that's less than 10,000 square feet. So it's really about an eighth of the site in total. We would have an enclosed area, and it would be used as a laydown yard in conjunction and accessory to the business next door. So when we went through that process, and even though it's zoned M2, laydown yard is not permitted as a use, something like truck parking is, but a laydown yard isn't. So what we discussed with the township, and what we're, back before we even realized that this wasn't permitted, but we'll reaffirm this tonight, is any zoning decision that permits this as a use, we will explicitly tie to the adjoining property. So we're using it strictly in an accessory manner, but of course you can't really grant an accessory use as a principal use. So the zoning decision we would have as accessory and tied to the next door property. What that means is if my client sells or vacates the next door property, the permission to use this piece as a laydown yard is vacated. They are agreeable to that. Also, my client cannot sell this to a third party to just come in and say, oh, I have permission to use this as a laydown yard as a principal use. So it's purely accessory, and that will be a condition that we're volunteering and agreeable to utilize.
St. Paul's the only person that can use this as a laydown?
Correct.
Okay.
100%. So as I said, we ran out of space. This is going to be material storage, primarily scaffolding that is existing next door. It'll allow the people who are parking next door to now park in the designated parking spots where some of the scaffolding has been stored to the exterior over the last handful of months. So we are installing stormwater management. We've hired Tri-State as part of that process. They've done a stormwater design. They're in dialogue with Gilmore on that. And otherwise, as I said, we withdrew our woodlands relief, and I would suggest this is also a significantly smaller impact than anything that we could otherwise build here. And I will note that we are keeping the mature trees and some of the undergrowth, obviously, both to the side and to the rear. So there are some people who own houses here. We are mindful of that, and that's why we're designing this area right here instead of here. So that's going to remain undisturbed.
No structures whatsoever?
Nope.
Never will be?
Nope. So,
No connexes, no?
Bob, do you want to get sworn in again?
Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I did. All right, and Mr. Marquis, can you state your name for the record again?
Robert Markey.
Okay, and again, just as a housekeeping item, you heard the summary that I provided about Zampell's operations at the outset with the board?
Yes.
Okay, was everything that I said true and correct to the best of your information, knowledge, and belief?
Yes.
Okay, and then the two of us are happy to answer any questions you have.
Yeah, so no connexes, no C boxes, none of that stuff?
I believe there will not be any Connex, and they will comply with that if that's the wish of the board.
Okay. All right. I'm just curious. Anybody else have any questions?
Will there be any like early morning deliveries or anything like that, or no?
Now, their operation is from, usually from 6:30 a.m. until 5 p.m. Their deliveries are basically to their 125 Phyllis Drive. The scaffolding and other refractories that to be stored here are stuff that really goes out when they are contracted by the entities that they service throughout the country.
So Minot Avenue is right behind there, correct?
Yes.
Minot.
M-I-N-O-T.
Yeah. All right, what do you think to say, you might not have the exact number, but from the laydown yard to, say, you know, the back of somebody's house, how far do you think it is from, just a guess?
This way, to the left.
Yeah, so, just asking from basically right here to where it's fenced to,
Yeah,
I'd say the
back of
houses
the
are around
property.
this portion of
Well,
the
the
property.
laydown yard's 120 feet wide, so I'd say that area is about 180 to 100 feet from the edge of the paved surface to the property line where the residential.
So, Bob, so, sorry, just for the record,
No, between 80 and 100 feet.
to the edge of the property, and then there's the rear yards to wherever their homes are, so maybe 125 feet, give or take.
Okay,
Right.
all right, thank you. Anybody else have any questions? Good, Gerard?
Yeah, I'm good.
Bo, anything to add?
The only thing we were gonna add is that Mike already touched on is that the owner of 125 Village Drive will be the only one to use this rather than anyone.
Correct.
Yeah, all right. No? Okay. Motion, I need a motion, please.
I'll give a motion for it.
I'll second.
Call the board.
Gerard Lycon.
Yes.
Mark DeMarcus.
Yes.
Jim McMahon.
Yes.
Colleen Dunn.
Yes.
Ed Murphy, yes.
Thanks, have a great night, everybody. Good to see everyone.
Everybody wins.
Everybody gets a variance today,
Boy, the house-
everybody.
The odds were against the house.
I feel like Oprah, everybody gets a variance.
I thought you
Okay.
guys were gonna deny Bryce's third one, just to keep everyone honest.
No, with Oprah, everyone gets a present.
Have a good night.
Thanks, Mike.
I need a I got a motion to adjourn from Mark DeMarcus. I need a second.
I'll second.
Call the board. No, you know what? Let's not call the board.